did you get all these lemons? Don't worry, I know what we can do with them. Put your hair up, wash your hands, let's grab an apron, and I'll meet you in the kitchen. Okay, while you were washing your hands, I went ahead and scrubbed up our lemons. It's important to remove any pesticides or vegetable wax that they'll put on the outside of these. So you just take some baking soda and just scrub them up really good. And that removes all of that residues and things that we don't want in our food. So some of the things that you can do with lemons are you can dehydrate them. These are great for making teas or powders. You can salt preserve them. And those are great for using in chicken and fish dishes, just about anywhere you would use lemons. Or you can sugar cure them. And sugar cure is great for anything you would do that's sweet. So the salt cures for savory and the sugar cure is for sweet. And then you can also use them to make lemon vinegar, which is really great for cleaning. So I'm going to show you how I do sugar cure because as you can see, I have 5 pounds of salt cured lemons. Now these were done yesterday and it takes 30 days for them to cure completely. And these are 30 days old. So as you can see, the color is much different. That's because the salt intensifies the lemon flavor. The same thing will happen with the sugar cured lemons. So we're gonna make, I have 1 jar here, so we're gonna make another jar of sugar cured lemons. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna slice lemons. So I always cut these ends off, and you wanna cut the end off where you can see the membrane because we want the slices. And then these go in the vinegar. So we're just gonna slice these up. And you can slice them however thick or thin you want. I slice them probably just under 1/4 of an inch thick. That's what I would guess. And these lemons are kind of small, so it's probably gonna take these 3 lemons to fill that jar. That one was kind of thin, but we're just gonna go with it. Now, something else you could do with the ends that you cut off if you didn't want to make vinegar is you could dehydrate them into powder. And it would be really good to use in cooking, and it's also great in the garden too because it repels pests. Now let's talk about seeds. These lemons have some seeds in them, not real bad. Like this one has quite a bit in it, so I'm gonna pick some of these out. Generally, I don't. If it's just a couple, 3 or 4, I'll just leave them in. But this one has quite a few seeds in it. So I'm gonna take those out. This one's got quite a few. Just because I use the sugared lemons more in like making, you know, a lemon poppy seed cake, or if I'm making a lemon meringue pie, or not lemon meringue, a lemon cream pie, or anything like that, you know, then I don't have to pick the seeds out when I'm trying to get all that put together. And you know that lemon poppy seed cake, it's got quite a few steps in it, so if you can reduce 1 more step, sounds like a good idea to me. All right, so sugar curing the lemons. Salt curing or sugar curing is exactly the same for both. So I have just regular sugar, just regular granulated sugar. I buy unbleached, so the only difference between this and just the regular Dixie Crystal sugar is Dixie Crystal is bleached white and this is not. So it's exactly the same sugar, this just one has not been bleached. So you're gonna put a layer of sugar in the bottom, and then you just start stacking your lemons in. And every time you put a lemon in the jar, you hit it with a little sugar. And you put in a lemon, go in there. And you hit it with a little sugar. some sugar. And you just repeat this process all the way up the jar. As you can see, it's pretty fast. And I'm probably putting like half a teaspoon of sugar on each one of these lemon slices as I'm working up through here. It really is not an exact science on adding the sugar. So now that we have these all the way up the side of the jar here, we have a lot of space here in the sides of the jar. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sprinkle a little sugar and we're gonna shove them down in the jar. The best we can get them down in there. Sometimes they don't wanna cooperate. But, you know, just like the kids, you just gotta make them. Just make them go on down in there. And some more sugar. Shove this one down in there. And I just remembered I have this lovely cut on my thumb. Where I was slicing some green beans the other day. Dad and I were canning green beans, so now we got all these in here. Got all these in here. You're just gonna keep kind of pressing them down. So it's important that you press as much as you can to get that juice flowing around in there, because that juice is what's gonna dissolve the sugar. And let me rinse my hands. Okay, and so I got my hands rinsed. So we want to make sure we press that down in there as good as we can. And we probably want to add like a couple of tablespoons of sugar to the top. And then we're going to add some just store-bought lemon juice. If you have extra lemons, you can squeeze the juice out of them to do this. But this is important because you want to make sure that the lemons are down under the liquid. And two things are, well, there's several things, but right off the bat with these, there's two things that are enemies of food preservation. One is air and one is light. So by keeping them under the liquid, they're out of the air, which is super important. And then we're going to allow this to set. Okay, and so I got my hands rinsed. So we want to make sure we press that down in there as good as we can. And we probably want to add like a couple of tablespoons of sugar to the top. And then we're going to add some just store-bought lemon juice. If you have extra lemons, you can squeeze the juice out of them to do this. But this is important because you want to make sure that the lemons are down under the liquid. And two things are, well, there's several things, but right off the bat with these, there's two things that are enemies of food preservation. One is air and one is light. So by keeping them under the liquid, they're out of the air, which is super important. And then we're going to allow this to set on the counter for about 4 days. I'm gonna shake it up a little bit. And I'll open it and make sure we still got, yep, good to go. All right. Let this sit on the counter for 4 days and then it'll go into the refrigerator. The salted lemons can stay out on the counter indefinitely because salt and the acid that's in the lemons, no bacteria can grow there. Sugar is not as good as a preservative as salt, so that's why these have to be refrigerated after the 4 days. So these jars will sit out here on the counter for 4 days, and then I'll pop them in the fridge. Now, our vinegar, lemon vinegar, as you can see, I did a bunch of lemons. Oops, I'll move this stuff so you can see. I did quite a bit of lemons when I did the 5 pounds there with these 2 jars. All of those went into the vinegar, and you can already tell the color difference in the lemons from yesterday and the lemons from today. That's because the vinegar is pulling the oil out of the peelings out of the lemon peels and infusing it into the vinegar, and that's what we want to happen. Just keep it. I keep it down under the cabinet for about 30 days, and then it'll be ready to strain and pour into a spray bottle, and you can use it to clean away with. All right, I hope I gave you some great ideas to use up all your lemons and prepare. You know, this is a great way to store lemons so that you have them in the fall and winter when they're not as plentiful or they're really expensive. If you have any other videos you want me to shoot, Sugar Bee, you just let me know. I love you. Bye.